I create as I speak. Your words are literally creating your reality, and we're going to bridge the gap between magic and neuroscience here today to show you just how. Because you think abracadabra is a magic trick, but it's not. It just got dressed up. And really, what's going on here is more underneath the surface, too. It's not just yelling affirmations at the mirror. So today we're going to dig into what abracadabra actually means, what your internal algorithm is, and that actually is programs and is programmed by your self-talk, your words you use. We're going to give you the gateway drug to start fixing your language so that you can start creating your reality. And then we're going to tell you the story under the language. What's actually programming it all? What does abracadabra actually mean? Like these days, self-talk, most people know it's a thing, right? Most people know self-talk exists. But this is where we're going to go deeper. We're going to go to the stories under the surface and the simple shifts in language that rewire what your brain goes looking for. So what do you hear? What do you think of when you hear abracadabra? Most people, rabbits being pulled out of top hats, assistants being sawed in half, people breaking out of straitjackets, right? That's what it used to be. Or what it actually used to be. What it is with my word, I create, right? With my word, I create. Comes from Aramaic. Traces back to, it will be created with my words, or with my word I create, or I create as I speak. Now, there is some back and forth about the specific etymology, but it actually helps our point here today because regardless of what the specific etymology is, every version out there points back to our words are powerful. Our words are creating our reality. Through a lot of the personal development, mindset stuff out there, the lever to pull is the words we speak and the words running underneath the surface. Because words don't just describe reality, they shape it. Let me pull it back for a second here. If everything is vibration, spoiler alert, it is. It's not just some woo concept. And words or sound is vibration. It is. Well, then the words we speak and the intonation with which we speak them, the feeling in those words becomes absolutely paramount. So, Mark Gaffney, I heard him on the Luke Story podcast one time talking about abracadabra, specifically the old Aramaic characters. And Mark would talk about how one character means basically word or substance, and the next one means silence. For abracadabra, with my word I create, to truly uphold its value, the words must uphold the silence, not betray it. Now, what is the silence? Well, on a lower level, let's think about this. You know that person who's always needs to fill the silence? They need to talk. Like they can't sit in that quote unquote awkward silence and just enjoy the reverence of the moment. They need to fill it. They're betraying the silence. What is the silence really, though? It's the stories under the surface. It's the thing running the show that we'd rather fill with noise instead of slow down and hear. Abracadabra used to be worn as an amulet. Now, of course, it wasn't in English, but interestingly enough, it still works in English. The same amount of characters. And as the word diminished, the illness was meant to diminish too. It was meant to filter things out. It was literally worn as a magic amulet. So, the word was medicine. Like it's been dressed up as something decorative, right? It was actually the tech. As long as we're talking about words, Merriam-Webster's definition of a spell is a word or combination of words thought to hold great meaning. Interesting. Abracadabra, with my word I create. And we made words in spelling class in school. We spelled, cast spells. It's a little weird, right? Well, it is, because the etymology of weird is of having the ability to control destiny. So, that being said, let's talk about your internal algorithm. Now, more and more people are becoming hip to the reticular activating system. What is it, though? It's something that it's a part of your brain, sits at the base of your brain, and it goes on a search and edit mission for your reality. So a lot of people will attribute reticular activating system noticings to manifestation. There may be a Venn diagram here, right? We can do another video, though, on the weird occurrences that get pulled in when you become the biggest grandfather clock in the room. That being said, like reticular activating system, you buy a G-Wagon, congratulations, you notice all the G-Wagons on the street because you told your brain G-Wagon. But your reticular activating system literally creates your feed for your life. But you don't get to scroll past it. You don't get to close the Instagram app when you're overstimulated. This thing is always running. It's filtering thousands and thousands of bits of information per second and deciding what to show you. And you've accidentally programmed it along the way because your reticular activating system is the filter that looks for the evidence, that feeds the story that's always been going there to begin with. But the story then feeds the words, and the words feed the filter. So yes, we can change the words and start to fix the filter and maybe get new evidence. But then it's going to come back to that old story, and it's going to have a hard time reprogramming something that's been running for decades. So when we get to the story under the surface, we're going to see how to reprogram it from the start. But put more simply here, what you look at is what you see. Or Dr. Joe Dispenza says, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So whatever you're feeding your reticular activating system, it's going to go out there and look for. And this is where people go, well, I don't want this. Cool. Hey, guys, watching this right now. Don't think of a pink elephant. Hard to not do that when the subject of the sentence was the pink elephant, right? Now, here's where I see a lot of entrepreneurs go sideways. Well, I don't want to be broke like my parents again. I don't want to feel that way again. I don't this, I don't that, I don't. And that's your driver, right? Your filter hears broke. Your filter hears that old situation. So it searches for supporting evidence that you are still in that situation. And if you start getting rid of supporting evidence, it's going to search for ways to start creating more by accidentally sabotaging your business. Time and time again, I see it. It's why people get stuck in yo-yo cycles of $100,000 a month, $30,000 a month. Because their reticular activating system doesn't believe that they deserve to have that business. And only when we go get the stories under the surface do we start to reprogram the whole thing. And this is why affirmations feel fake, because if the body doesn't believe it, the affirmation just carries this wanting gap signature. We're identifying with as the person who doesn't have that yet. What does this look like in a business, though? Well, I had a client, physical therapist, helps people with shoulder pain, channeling between $12,000 and $15,000 per month. That's solid business, right? And this day and age, $20K, $30K, $50K is more than doable for a lot of businesses, or even more. She kept comparing herself to people doing $50, $100, $2,000 a month. So we dug in. And we ended up at college sports, like a memory that she didn't even realize was still there. A memory from when she'd been told she would be the starter. She had all the skills to be the starter. For some reason, she ended up playing backup to somebody else. And that story programmed into her reticular activating system, I am unimportant. Well, what do you think happens when you're running on something that you don't even realize is there? She hadn't consciously thought about this in years. We found it by pulling threads the way that we'll talk about in a few minutes here. What do you think happens when you run on a story of I am unimportant? Well, you create supporting evidence for it. You stare at supporting evidence for it by looking at people that are further ahead than you. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when we ripped that out, interesting things started happening. Because the fix was never an affirmation. The fix was the story. So here's the gateway drug into shifting your words, shifting your language, right? If you're going to start on the surface without diving into a story, it's soft talk. And I want you to think about the most flakiest person you have ever known. The person who says, I might probably try to make it tonight. I literally heard that one time. We were walking out of a social gathering, my wife and I, and one of her friends who was in town goes, yeah, I might probably try to make it tonight. I looked at her. I was like, cool. We'll see you tomorrow then. And she's, oh, goodness. He called me out on that. It's when you're layering soft talk on that, like that, people do that with their goals. People do that with all kinds of commitments, and it's a hedge to let yourself out of it. These are the soft talk keywords, and we're going to come back up to these for a little exercise in a minute. Every one of these hands your filter a hall pass to not commit. And here's the thing. People try to use these to seem nice, right? And that's the problem, to seem nice. Like the boomer mom who never addresses the uncomfortable elephant in the room. But everybody's happy, right? There's a difference between nice and kind. Nice avoids immediate discomfort. Nice avoids immediate discomfort and pushes it down the road. Kind says the accurate, loving thing to create long-term comfort. Soft talk is nice. Solid talk is kind. Right? Right here. Do you want to maybe go out sometime? Or would you like dinner Friday at 7? Or if you get a lead in your DMs, I might be able to help you with that. Hey, this is exactly what I help my clients with. You want to get on a call? I might probably try to make it tonight, or I'm staying in tonight. And solid talk doesn't always mean yes. It's not Jim Carrey, yes, man. It just means making a decision, right? And this is tricky because I'm staying in tonight. Or some people might even think, oh, I'm going to sit with that. I'll have an answer Friday. Well, what is that? It still kicks the can down the road. I'm going to sit with that. I'll have an answer Friday. Well, unless it's a new decision, they've been sitting with it. Most people already know their answer. Try this one out for size. If you're somewhere where you can speak out loud right now, speak a goal out loud that you have. I want to make $100,000 a month this year. I want to pay off my house, whatever it is. Now, say it again and put a probably anywhere in the sentence. You probably don't even want to say that out loud, right? Because you're aware that, like, I probably want to make $100,000 a month. I want to make $100,000 a month probably this year. It takes everything out of it. And I talk to people all the time that are doing this unknowingly. They just hedge themselves out with this soft talk. Soft talk leaves loops open and solid talk closes them. Most entrepreneurs know that you want to close loops, right? This closes loops. So we got an exercise here. Screenshot these words or pause this video and write them down on a sheet of paper 2 to 3 times larger than you would usually write. That's step 1. Once you've done that, hit play again. Then you're going to put those words where you'll see them. On your desk, and like above your monitor, in a bathroom, like wherever you'll see it often. What's going to happen is your reticular activating system is going to start noticing these words now. And as it notices the words, don't try and fix, right? Just notice them. And then naturally, you're going to start speaking them less and less and editing them out. And then you won't even be thinking them. And this is where confidence is born. There's layers to this language game, right? Because soft talk is the gateway drug. Then you get into negations. Most people talk about what they don't want, like we talked about up in the Abracadabra section or the reticular activating system section. Most people talk about what they don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. What do you want? Talking about with negations is like staring in a rearview mirror driving down the road. You're not going to get to where you want to go. It's just impossible. Projections. Those unlock a whole other layer of story. Because the projections are that he did this to me. She made me feel that way. This is all their fault. Just casting what we're too chicken shit to look at onto everybody else out there. And there's pressure language. that most people think they need to run on. I should be doing this. I need to be doing that. Really? Do you? And each language archetype will unlock another story underneath the show. It's uncanny the way this happens. Some might even say it's weird. But when you clean up your soft talk, you start hearing everything else. All right? The story under the language. Because your daily language isn't being programmed by your daily language. That's why affirmations in the mirror feel so forced. Your daily language is being programmed by subconscious emotional drivers. The surface self-talk, like, it's just the output. But those emotional drivers, they were put there decades ago, right? Your body doesn't believe the affirmations because you have a story stored in your body that says that's not true and this is why. And even if it's not front of mind because you've compartmentalized it through the years or used it as fuel, your reticular activating system remembers. And until you go into and through it, good luck. One client showed up on a call saying, I need to be more detached from sales calls. So what do? Do we go into her sales script and look at all that? No. We traced the emotion. And we found a story underneath the surface from when she was like 17, 18 years old. A story of getting yelled at for, stepping outside the rules, for pushing boundaries. We cleared that because that emotional driver, that story, that meaning would show up every time she got close to a close. That perceived high pressure moment. And she would drop the ball because she wasn't allowed to stand up and do what she knew was right. Well, when we cleared that, she went from $17,000 per month to $57,000 per month. Another was avoiding DM outreach and didn't know why. Knew that he was supposed to be doing it. So we traced that emotional driver and we ended up back at a story that he didn't even remember was in there from being laughed at in T-ball. Being laughed at in T-ball was affecting his DM outreach. And when we cleared that, homie started having more qualified book calls than he knew what to do with. Hired a closer. Brought a setter on. Crazy how this stuff works. Except it's not. Been working these stories for 6 years. I have over 2,500 one-to-one hours. This is the driver right here. We want to find the thing under the thing. We use the present day to get to the root. Like, you don't go hunting through your childhood at random. Like, oh yeah, mom and dad got divorced. I know that affected me. Let's go look at that. Oh, I got dumped in high school. You might end up at these things. You want to find them though by peeling back layer by layer. That's the way this stuff works best. So you write the story out of what's happening now. The sales call you dropped. The fact that you're not showing up in your business the way you want to. Whatever it be. And you write out what is happening, the detail, the tactical side of this thing. And then you read it out loud. What's the strongest emotion? What do you feel? That emotion is the thread you pull. You ask yourself, when's the earliest time I remember feeling this? And then, whatever you find, and if you don't find anything, well, there's something there. Just some people's subconscious says, we're not going to look at that. That's scary. So I promise you there's something there. May need a little extra down regulation practice. But when you find it, when you find what's underneath that emotion, the first time you can remember feeling that meaning got burned in, you write that story out, that specific instance, the time mom and dad announced the divorce, the time you got put on the bench in favor of somebody else, the time that you failed that class, the time you got that speeding ticket, the time you got the DUI, whatever it be, you write it out as it happened. Then you read it out loud conversationally. Then you read it out loud slower at 80% speed. These are actually 2 steps here. First step is right here. First, you read it out loud slower at 80% speed, word for word. Then you read it out loud with a full breath in between each sentence. And that breath is usually what gets it all the way up and out. It starts to neutralize this thing. Then you get to rewrite it. And this is where I have a lot of fun with my clients. We work on a Google Doc and we have their story up real time. And we get to tinker with the words. And we get to rewrite it. It's not a surface affirmation. You're rewriting something from the root. Like I said, we had Andrea who went $17,000 to $57,000 per month. We had my client who had more calls than he knew he could take. And we had a client that stopped filtering for the gap, like stopped looking for the reasons to be unimportant. You don't change this stuff on the surface. You don't create detachment by just not caring. That's a load of shit. You changed it at the root. Because the magic was never a trick. It was literally the technology. Your words are creating your reality on more levels than you may realize. What you say, how you say it, the words you choose, it's either coding your filter for what you want or programming it to protect you for some reason from what you say you want. Listen, I take on 2 to 3 new clients every month, depending on how many re-enroll with me each month. There is an application description. Listen, I take on 2 to 3 new clients each month, depending on how many re-enroll with me each month. There is an application link in the description below. If you think that you are game to get into this work, to unlock a new level of magnetism, it's in the description.